It was only when I watched my first sports anime cross game that I finally understood the appeal of real sports. I used to despise sports, but I was just prejudiced. I haven't tried to like sports in the first place. I never understood the unscripted narrative happening underneath the game, the narrative that's woven into the players, the team as a whole, and the driving force of competition. I'd separated myself from anything related to sports before I could form attachments. I don't have enough time or energy to become invested into watching sports anyways, as there are things I'd much rather do. But anime focused on sports is something I'd been missing out on. Players drive all the action in sports, and becoming invested in sports requires connecting with players. Without a bond, there's no reason to root for one team over another, to get excited during a match, or to feel dejected over a loss. If one has experience playing a sport, one can feel sympathy for even unfamiliar faces, or one can feel empathy by having knowledge about a player's motivations and background. This level of understanding and commitment makes sports something I can't get into. However, I was once invested into the eSport Dota 2. At the time, I never considered sports and esports the same, but esports are pretty similar. This clip of a pro Dota match is probably uninteresting and confusing for anyone without experience playing Dota, or anyone who has never watch the game. However, there are many visual cues in this clip that serve as information for an experienced viewer. But for anyone else, these actions seem random. While the movements of players in real sports are a lot easier to comprehend, there are still details that add depth to every game. I recommend watching Mr. Beatung's video patronizing explanations on soccer, as I think he explains very well how one might misunderstand soccer as boring, and what one should try to look for to appreciate the sport. Understanding the complexities of a game is fairly important to being able to fully appreciate it. This clip also highlights the actions of the pro player Eternal Envy. For someone who doesn't know anything about him or care, this moment wouldn't be as exciting. For me, however, Eternal Envy is my favorite pro player. I admire his tryhard attitude of refusing to be complacent with second place, and of course his openness of liking anime makes me connect with him. This moment was very intense watching live, as it was the upper bracket finals of one of the largest tournaments in the year, and Team Secret was falling behind in the second match. When the player Weehaw landed an amazing meteor, and Eternal Envy survived by the skin of his teeth, it was a moment of ecstasy. Casters definitely resonate how hyped this moment was.
Eternal Envy, and we are at his back just at the time it was needed. Fantastic combo from the Evoker coming down that choke point, and Secret do it. They'll move into Rota, finish it off, they'll get themselves the Aegis.
Unlike sports and esports though, cross-game requires much less investment to follow the narrative. It is a much more inviting experience as it requires no prior knowledge about baseball, and all the characters have clear motivations that help one become easily attached. The early episodes focus more on characterization than the game of baseball, so that by the time the first game of baseball begins, every action carries more weight. The first episode of cross-game focuses on the strong friendship with the main character Kitamura Ko and Tsukishi Hima Wakaba. Only the character Wakaba dies at the end of the episode. This becomes Ko's initial motivation to become better at baseball, and throughout the show, baseball helps Ko overcome his grief. This development is made apparent by the relationship between Ko and her sister Alba, as their relationship only progresses as they both begin to move past their grief of Wakaba's death. Watching these characters struggling and then seeing them ultimately succeed is quite cathartic. Before I started watching, I was skeptical if I would even enjoy a sports anime like Cross Game. However, I thoroughly enjoyed Cross Game, and I definitely plan on watching more sports anime, as they have the potential to provide a unique experience. Many sports anime tend to be a shonen aimed at a young male audience. The main character is usually similar to the stereotypical action shonen protagonist. These characters are some of my favorite as they are brimming with confidence and filled with determination to better themselves, although they are faced with enormous obstacles. Instead of being an adventure, however, sports anime tend to be grounded in reality, providing relatable characters and settings. A show like Haikyuu immerses one in the environment of a volleyball team, while the anime Baby Steps follows the journey of a player determined to become a professional. Cross Game is just as much as a bad rom-com as an anime about baseball. Transitioning from subdued moments to high-stakes action is something sports anime can do very well. When I watched Cross Game, it clicked that this show was pressing the same buttons as watching a match with Dota would. The same buttons that would be pressed if I were invested in real sports. Professional players like Eternal Envy and characters like Ko are who I aspire to be, and it feels great to see these role models of mine succeed. I constantly feel the need to better myself, and competition is a method of proving that I've grown. When I watch professional matches, there are always small details I would take and apply to my own games. And while watching Cross Game, I could feel my competitive attitude improving. Watching Cross Game makes me want to go out and become an amazing baseball player. And although I never will, the anime Cross Game made me feel as though I was on the same journey with Ko. Slice of life is a very extensive genre, so there are plenty of exceptions, but I consider it my least favorite genre. Not in the sense I dislike slice of life shows, but more so I'm not often in the mood to watch. When I watch a slice of life show, I usually expect the show to make me laugh, feel relaxed, or generally feel better, which makes these shows great in their own right. However, I don't feel much of a desire to watch a show that doesn't give me a new experience. I like watching a show that is gripping and makes me want to do something. A show like Cross Game strikes a unique balance because it has such intense action, but there are people really good at baseball. It is entirely possible to be an amazing baseball player, but it's something I can only dream of. Cross Game delivers a wide variety of experiences from drama to romance and to sports. Although it isn't perfect by any means, as these elements aren't all executed well, the combination of these elements is very gratifying. I couldn't help but speed through the first part of Cross Game because it was engaging me so much. This however, brings up my major problem with Cross Game. The middle part of the show starts to drag on heavily. The focus of baseball drifts towards the characters, and only returns to baseball toward the climax. The characters are enjoyable, but they aren't interesting enough to stand on their own without baseball. I actually started skipping episodes as many felt boring and unnecessary. While the first half had me pumped, I began to lose steam and interest in the show. But fortunately, the conclusion returned to the show's strength, and was quite satisfying. However, I would have enjoyed the series a lot more if it was maybe 30 or 40 episodes instead of 50. Entire characters, subplots, and romantic triangles felt completely unnecessary. For example, the character Mizuki Azumi was introduced out of left field. His sole goal was to hook up with Alba, but it was clear he never would. He does not do anything relevant to the story, and all his scenes just cause the viewer to laugh at how oblivious he is. He only accomplishes that highlighting how much better every other character is. Another character, Senda, serves as comedic relief throughout the show. I was hoping he'd develop as a character beyond the funny guy, but he never does. Also, the underclassmen players felt neglected, resulting in an entire portion of the team seeming unimportant to the outcome of the game. For all the time spent outside of playing baseball, developing Senda and the underclassmen seemed like a missed opportunity. Overall, I really liked Cross Game as the matches of baseball are engaging and I cared deeply about the main cast of characters. Show had some flaws, but it convinced me of the potential of sports anime. However, if you're looking for a sports anime that always keeps you on the edge of your seats, Baby Steps and Haikyuu are a lot more well-rounded. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about sports anime in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope you stick with me as I get this channel off the ground.